This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
The NFL Hall of Fame is a special place reserved for only the best to ever play the game.
Welcome to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You came in with your head down, you worked, you didn't talk. Your play, your work ethic, it spoke louder than any word that could ever be said. You deserve every last bit of it.
We want to welcome you to football heaven.
Now I'm a part of it.
The athletes who earned themselves a bust in Canton did so by dominating at their position and standing out far beyond the rest. Devin Hester is once prime Devin Hester. Now, Devin Hester's fairly remarkable journey began fairly close to the bottom as well. He was born in Florida on November 4th, 1982, but faced early difficulties as his parents divorced when he was just a toddler. The challenges continued to come for Hester, who lost his father to AIDS when he was just 12 years old.
I was so embarrassed to say AIDS. I always covered it up with cancer. I didn't know my father until kindergarten. When we started building a relationship with him, that's when we found out. It was like, wow, man, I finally get to be my dad. And so now he got AIDS. When I really started having a relationship with him, so now I'm freaking out, you know what I mean? So just everything in that situation, man, I'm glad I was able to spend 2 or 3 good years with him.
Around the same time that his mother suffered severe injuries in a car crash that prevented her from working for 3 years. Hester's early years were tough, but through football and support from his stepfather and brother, he managed to battle through depression and start building a reputation as an athlete. A stellar high school career in football and athletics put him firmly on the radar of college football programs. He was a speed demon who also had explosiveness to excel at long jump, which translated perfectly onto the football field. In particular, the art of kick returns. One 80-yard return earned him the name Sugarfoot, which, if you know how the rest of his career panned out, is very fitting. Following his high school career, everyone was starting to take notice, and Hester was rewarded with a spot at the University of Miami, where he would play for the Hurricanes. The 5-star recruit was an athletic specimen, but sadly, his remarkable college career would start with a bump.
And the minute I get checked in the dorm room, all of a sudden I'm ineligible to play football. And it came from just NCAA questioning my grades, my test scores from another school. They said they got caught there and that another school questioned my SAT scores and some of my grades. I really wanted to give up then and say I didn't want to play football no more because you gotta think about a kid in a small town. Football is over for you. You know, you dream about doing this your whole life, and then the minute you get taken away from it. I sat out a whole year to go to school, didn't do no training, didn't do nothing.
The ruling almost broke Hester, but with support from his mother, he once again proved his resilience by sitting through the year, getting the required grades, and properly starting his football career in 2003.
My mom, she stayed in contact at the University of Miami, and they made sure that I kept my head clean and I stayed away from a lot of negativity and put me in a situation where I can stay focused. And I think that was the key turning point in my life at that moment where I didn't give up.
And I mean, when the time finally did come, Hester exploded onto the scene with a stunning season that would set the tone for the rest of his career. His versatility allowed him to become the first player in school history to play in all 3 phases of the game, and his speed allowed him to dominate. He started his career with a bang by returning 2 kickoffs for 73 yards against Louisiana Tech before really asserting himself as a name to watch with a 97-yard touchdown from the opening kickoff against the Florida Gators.
Hester from the 3. Streaks across the 30. He might be gone. Petrovich, the kicker, to beat. Forget it. It's going to be a touchdown. 97 yards on the opening kick.
Over 3 stunning seasons, he established himself as the best returner in the game, not just because of his game-breaking speed, but also because of his physicality. In his final season in 2005, he broke 6 tackles en route to an 81-yard punt return against Duke.
Up to his own 30. Waits for a block. Here he comes again. This time he danced back into trouble and back out again. Wow! Still on his feet. Are you kidding me? Top 10 ESPN
named a first-team All-American in 2005 while also earning 2 first-team All-ACC nods as well. His hero growing up was Deion Sanders, and there was plenty who believed he shared a similar upside as a returner in the NFL. And I mean, over the years, Deion and Devin have become very close, with the later crediting Deion's support as one of the most influential factors in him becoming the man he is and the player he was. As we all know, Deion Sanders became known by his famous nickname Primetime thanks to a spectacular career that featured a Defensive Player of the Year award in 6 first-team All-Pros. In honor of his idol, Hester took on the nickname of Anytime while at college, something that he would absolutely live up to. Now, coming into the draft though, Devin Hester was somewhat of an anomaly and kind of just a really tough player to wrap their heads around as a prospect. Like, I mean, his return ability made him a game changer no matter what, but that also begged the question of how high can you really draft a positionless player? And like, yes, he had been highly recruited out of high school as a cornerback, and then in college he had been used as both a wide receiver and a returner, but everybody knew that his primary focus was going to be as a return man. And since he was technically a positionless player, it's why the Chicago Bears were ridiculed when they selected him in the 2nd round of the 2006 NFL draft, 57th overall.
Teams didn't do that. They didn't draft a player, just a punt returner, kick returner that high. So when we did it, there was a lot of people thinking we were nuts, drafting this guy that high. So obviously later on, after about a couple games, it seemed like everybody was saying, no, he's a guy I wanted too. So, I mean, everybody jumped on board. It wasn't long after that.
How about this? Back to that highlight video that I saw of him in college. And just some guys have it, and some don't, and he had it. And so it shouldn't be a big surprise to us what he was able to do at the NFL level.
It appeared that the Bears were setting up their new recruit to fail, putting him in a position where he would have to become the greatest returner of all time in order to shut up the doubters and the frustration of fans who wanted a satisfactory return for such a high pick. Thankfully though, he did just that. Devin Hester was the final piece to make them the most feared special teams unit in the NFL, and it turned out to be the perfect landing spot for the exciting recruit from Miami. And the impact that Devin Hester had as a rookie is just, it can't be understated. It was one of the greatest rookie seasons we've ever seen as a returner or just from anybody in that position group. And it started in week 1. In his debut against the Bears' bitter rivals, the Green Bay Packers, Hester announced his arrival as an NFL player in style. In the 4th quarter with Chicago up by 19 points to 0, Green Bay punted the ball to Hester and set off on his first big play as a pro.
He's got one. Watch out here. If he gets a couple of blocks, he's gone. Devin Hester, the rookie from Miami. 84 yards, punt return for a touchdown by Devin Hester.
That impressive run was just a glimpse of what was to come with Hester proving his game-changing ability again in week 6 against the Arizona Cardinals. This time, Chicago was trailing by 6 points with just 3 minutes left on the clock.
Devin Hester from the 18. Reading box, Devin Hester into the open field, and Hester picks up another block. Devin Hester, the punter to beat. He beat him. Devin Hester, all the way. Touchdown, Chicago Bears.
It was a clutch moment from the rookie, and in just his 6th game, he delivered a killer blow when his team needed him the most. And by now, Devin Hester knew he belonged in the NFL, and teams had already begun to kick the ball away from him. Such was the fear of his potential returns. He was a truly outrageous athletic package offering burning speed, but in a frame that was almost 200 pounds and not easy to take down, Hester could literally shed the best tacklers on an opposing team's special team unit and then also outrun their fastest to the end zone. Look, this dude was a true cheat code when he was on the field, but athleticism alone doesn't get you into the Hall of Fame. The outrageous highlight package fueled his route to the end zone.
He just is born with it. His vision, he had like a sixth sense, and he would start one way, but he knew exactly what was coming on the backside and he knew the exact timing of when to cut back. He had a real good feel for that. It was like he had eyes in the back of his head.
The patience, vision, speed, and rookie season. Are you looking for a new book this football season? BetUS is the answer. They have the fastest and easiest payouts in the industry, along with 24/7 personalized service 365 days a year. Not only that, but they have live wagering on all major games, so if you see something mid-game and want to make a wager on it, you can. And the best part is you get 10% back on your net losses twice a year. And now look, you guys know I had to come through for you, so use my sign up link in the description or pinned comment and get a sign up bonus of 125% up to $2,000. Again, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring today's video, but for now, let's hop back into it. And one of the most iconic moments of his career came in week 10 as the Bears traveled to New York for a windy game against the Giants. An ambitious long field goal attempt by the Giants gave Hester the idea of standing under the post. With just 4 points separating the two sides when Jay Feely attempted that field goal with 11 minutes left on the clock, it fell short and landed in the hands of Hester. And at that moment too, no one really knew what was going to happen next.
Territory. He is going to go all the way. And no flags.
The 108-yard touchdown tied the longest score in NFL history at the time. Hester had tricked the Giants and extended the lead to now 11 points while also collecting his third touchdown of the season. His fourth arrived in week 13 against the Minnesota Vikings when he showed his physicality to shake off 4 defenders and run 50 yards to the end zone. He then didn't have to wait long at all for his 5th touchdown of the season, which came on a very special day in St. Louis. It was special because of the records he broke on that day, but it didn't get off to the best of starts. Hester's significant involvement on that day came at cornerback. Yes, cornerback, you heard that right, where he was burned by Torrey Holt for a touchdown. Like any good player though, Hester only used that as motivation to bounce back, and boy did he do that. Not a game in the 4th quarter, this time totaling 96 yards. It was an epic day for the Chicago Bears and Devin Hester, who solidified his status. I mean, not only had he proven to the Bears that he was a reliable game changer for that team, but he had already etched his name into the NFL's history books. His first kick return touchdown against the Rams was his 5th kicker punt return score on the season, which tied the previous NFL record. When he then took his 2nd touchdown of the game over the line in the 4th quarter, that set a new NFL record for combined kick and punt return touchdowns in a season. And it was safe to say that the Bears had found a star. Bears had stormed to a 13-3 record and the #1 seed in the NFC. They then defeated the Seattle Seahawks and New Orleans Saints to set up a Super Bowl clash against the Indianapolis Colts. And despite being a rookie, Devin Hester was one of the biggest names in the NFL already, and the pre-Super Bowl buzz included countless conversations around whether the Colts would dare to give him an opportunity to return the ball on their first kickoff. That excitement and anticipation went into overdrive when the Bears won the toss and elected to receive. The opening play of the Super Bowl was going to be a Colts kickoff, and the most exciting rookie returner of all time would be underneath it. Surely they wouldn't risk putting it in his hands, right? They did, and the rest is history.
He goes. It's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no.
At that time, it was the first opening kickoff of a Super Bowl returned for a touchdown in NFL history. Remember, this is a rookie that we're talking about. Hester went from game-saving return touchdowns in the regular season. Fortunately, the Colts learned their lesson and kicked it away from Hester as much as possible for the rest of the game, with Manning's team going on to be victorious. As anyways, Devin Hester entered the league in his prime. He broke records and flipped games on their head as a rookie and continued delivering all-pro performances as a sophomore. He had over-delivered on the 2nd round draft pedigree and already announced himself as one of the most dangerous weapons in the NFL. I mean, prime Devin Hester was something truly to behold. Unfortunately though, after his sophomore year, he had to wait until year 5 of his NFL career to pick up his next touchdown. But in that time, he did establish himself more as a receiver, as Hester improved to collect 665 yards and 3 touchdowns in 2008 before hitting a career high 757 yards and 3 touchdowns in 2009. And as crazy as it sounds, he probably was the #1 guy on that roster in the 2009 season, highlighted by a 101-yard and 1 touchdown effort against Cincinnati. And although there was progress on the receiving front of his game, it was just never going to be as effective or just as good as he was as a return man on special teams. In 2010, he returned to league-leading form by earning his 3rd Pro Bowl and 1st Team All-Pro selections. He did so thanks to 3 punt return touchdowns and a total of 991 return yards. His 564 punt return yards that year led the league, which was the 2nd time he had achieved that feat in his career. And from that point onwards, Hester's time was mostly used in the return game, continuing to rack up at least 1 touchdown in 4 out of the 5 seasons between 2010 and 2014. He had a career high 1,436 kick return yards in 2013, which would also be his last in Chicago. The following year though, he would take his talents to Atlanta, and in Atlanta, he would do something very special. Friend and mentor Deion Sanders' previous record of 19 2019, which meant that the two were able to have an emotional on-air moment of celebration. And while there were no more touchdowns to celebrate beyond that record-breaking moment, after a couple of quieter seasons, Hester signed with the Seahawks for their playoff run in 2016, and he didn't get much of an opportunity in the wild card round against the Detroit Lions, but 1 week later against the Atlanta Falcons, he treated the NFL to one final returning masterclass. In what would end up being the final game of his career, Devin Hester posted 194 yards on 5 kickoff returns and had incredible returns of 50 and 78 yards on the day, showcasing some vintage Devin Hester greatness. Unfortunately, it would be in a losing effort, and as the game drew to an end, so did the career of one of the greatest return men in NFL history. He finished with a record-breaking 20 touchdowns, 3 first-team All-Pros, a second-team All-Pro, 4 Pro Bowls, and led the league in varying return categories multiple times. He was named to the 2000s All-Decade Team, the 2010s All-Decade Team, the NFL 100th Anniversary All-Time Team, and most importantly, was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year, in 2024. He was an incredible talent, emphasized by the fact that he somehow tied or broke a Chicago Bears or NFL record with every single touchdown he took over the line. He forced teams to change their kickoff and punt return strategies and frightened the absolute life out of coaches and players for over a decade. Although it seems controversial to most people, Devin Hester was a true legend of the sport, and growing up I loved watching him and is a worthy addition to the Hall of Fame as the greatest return man of all time. But I want to know what you guys think. Do you think that Devin Hester belongs in the Hall of Fame? I know that leading up to it, a lot of people were kind of going back and forth of if they should have him in the Hall of Fame, but I do think he should be in it, as he was just an absolute game changer. Like, he struck fear into opponents when they saw him lining up back there to go and return a punt. You knew that he could score on that play. But let me know in the comment section below what you guys think. And as always, I appreciate you guys. If you have not also, make sure you join my Discord. Again, thank you to BetUS for sponsoring this video, as we are now sponsored by them and going to be continuing to do more videos with them. I really appreciate all that love that you guys are showing too. And that make sure you are in the Discord for, we are doing our fantasy pick and pool and all those things in there this season, all starting very soon now that football is back, baby. And I'll see you guys in the next one.